Let's change it to a new password. So the first one was 123456. Let's make it password. All right. So let's change password, and yes, so successfully changed. All right. Hi friends, welcome to Code Jana, and in this video we are going to set up an option so that the user can reset their password. So without further ado, let's right click this folder and open with code. Now in our terminal, let's activate our virtual environment. So venv scripts and then activate, and then run our Python file. So Python run.py, we are running this file. All right, this one. So let's open this. All right, now let's try to log in. So currently I have this myth@gmail.com, the user that we created in our earlier video. So let's try to log in. All right, so it was 123456. So I have successfully logged in. So let me type anything here. So we get this warning. Now if for some reason the user forgets their password, and does happen a lot, we should have a system to reset their password. So we are going to take it step by step. First of all, we are going to display a link here from where the user can actually type their email address, and then when they click on reset password button, they should receive a token on their email, and after verifying that token and the user, we should be able to redirect them to a page where they can reset their password with new password. All right, so it may seem complicated, but it is really simple. So let's take it step by step. First of all, I want to display a forgot password link there. So this particular page is being displayed by login.html. So let's just click on there, this login.html, and right at the bottom here where this submit button is rendering, I'm just going to create an anchor tag with href of just £, and we are going to display here forgot password, just this text. And now, right, so let's reload this page. Wonderful. So we got this forgot password link. Now you can make it pretty by adding some CSS style there, but I just want to show you the concept here on how to set this up. So right now if you click on it, nothing is going to happen because we have used a £, there. But the system is like this. When a user clicks here, they should be able to get to a reset password request page. So let's create that one first. So let's click on this templates, all right, to be sure that the file is made inside of this folder. Let's click here, and this one we call it reset and then request.html. Wonderful. So on this page we just want to capture their email address and a submit button. So this login template looks very similar to that. So let's just copy it and then paste it. Wonderful. And we don't need this password field, so let's copy it from this form group div to this ending div and delete that. All right, so we also don't need this anchor tag of forgot password. Let's delete that. And yes, that's all we need to do. So now when someone clicks here, they should be able to see this page. So what happens when you click on a URL? Well, we need to create a route for that, otherwise it is going to show an error. So after all of this, let's just hide these so we have some room. All right, so we are going to create a route to that page. So at app.route, and these are the methods of app variable, and you must be familiar with this because we have used it a lot of times now. So slash, and then this name can be anything, but we want to keep it simple. So reset underscore, let's say password. All right, because this URL is not going to change. So let's just do this and create a function for it. So currently this is our reset request function. We are just capturing the email address and then rendering a submit button. That's it. That's all we are going to do now. So let's do a return and then render template, and render the template of this page. All right, so this reset request page. So let's type that reset underscore request.html, and I have typed it in smaller case. Don't worry about that, it is still going to work. So title, let's say the title is again request, and this should be in string. Wonderful. And now let me take you to reset request again. So we are using this form.email.label. Now I want to take your attention to this form variable here. Now we have used this form variable from our login HTML, right? Because now let me take you to this login. All right, so we have instantiated this form variable in login. That's why we could use it, and we have also passed that in here. All right, let me highlight this. So when we render the template, we do pass that variable, so make sure you got that. All right, so we do not have a form ready to capture that email and a submit button, so we are going to create it in just a moment. So where do we create our forms? Right here in forms.py. So we are going to create a form, and seriously, it is going to be really just a copy of it with small changes. So press Alt Shift and down arrow to copy it completely. And now let's just change a few things. So this is going to be called reset and then request form, and again it is going to instantiate from Flask form. The email field is going to be there, but the password field is not going to be there. All right, so let's delete that. And the submit button is not going to say login, it is going to say reset password. That's it. So now that we have created this form here, we can actually import it at the top where we have imported other forms. So that's our reset request form. And now that we have imported that form, we can use that form. So form is equal to that reset request. So we have instantiated that form here, and now we can use form is equal to this form variable. So this form variable has been used here, and this form variable is instantiating this request form. All right, so I hope everything is clear. And now our server has crashed, so let's try to run it again. And now let's see if it gives us an error or not. So let's open this one, click on login again, and now we have not currently added anything inside that pound sign. Let me just go back there and click on this login, and see, we still have this pound sign here, but we have successfully created a route, so we can actually delete that and use Jinja2 placeholder there, and then just use a URL underscore for function. And then what is the function name? The function name is reset underscore request. All right, let's cross check. So routes.py, and yes, the function name is reset underscore request. So wonderful, no changes needed. And now click on login again. So click on now password, and wonderful. So we have got this page, and I'm afraid the legend says login. So I'm going to make a small change also. I'm going to pass this legend variable here, and type the legend as a reset password. And now instead of just manually adding login there or the legend name, I'm just going to pass that legend variable here. So this is good practice actually, because now you don't have to change it every single time. You can just change everything in routes.py, and it will be displayed in your HTML pages. All right, so if you want to do that with other pages as well, you can do so. So wonderful, everything is working correctly. Refresh this page. Great. So reset password. Now let's type myth@gmail.com and pretend that we have forgotten our password. So let's reset password, and see the method not allowed. So don't worry about that, you already know how to take care of it. So now we have created that page that someone can use to at least click through. The second thing we need to do is actually grab that user. Let me just go back here. So the second thing we need to do is grab this user, verify that this user is valid, and then create a token, and furthermore send an email to this mail. All right, so I know, again, complicated, but still let's keep going. So let's take care of this methods first. So as you already know that if your URL has particular form, then it will have a get request and post request. So based on the methods you are going to use, you need to pass a list here. So we have used this multiple times, square brackets, and then get, and then post. Wonderful. So now that error is going to go away. So now no error there, and we can actually check if the form is valid, and if it is valid, then we can actually flash a message. So if form.validate on submit, this one, if the form is valid, then just flash a message. So the message requires reset request sent. All right, check your mail. Now we are going to implement this functionality in just a bit, and the second argument is a CSS vector. So let's pass a success tag there. Let's continue, and yes, so reset request sent, check your mail. Now currently it did not send any mail, but right now our form is successfully verifying all the fields and then just displaying this message. So our next step is to grab a user and then create a token. So this is very simple. Now we're going to grab that user. So user is equal to user.query.filter by. You are already familiar with it. What are we going to filter it by? We are grabbing email. All right, so email is equal to, now where that email is coming from, it is coming from form.email.data. How so? Well, this field is actually the email field. So form instantiated via this request form, and then grabbing the email field, which is right this one, and then .data, which means the data inside of it. Wonderful. So now this is going to give us an SQL alchemy object. We don't need that. We need that particular user, because then we can do user.id, which is all of these things are inside our models.py. All right, so we can grab user.id, user.username, user.email, and anything that we want. So let's do that in our routes.py. We have grabbed that user. Now if that user exists, if user, simply that, if that user exists, then we are going to send them a mail. As simple as that. So right now we have not created this send mail function. We are going to do that just now. And now this flash message makes more sense, that yes, that user exists. And now since the user exists, you can check your mail. A reset request has been sent to you. So this is going to give us an error because this function does not exist. So right now, just to keep things simple, we are going to define a function send_mail. And we are just going to do a pass statement so it doesn't give us an error. Wonderful. So now let's check whether everything works. And now just click on this reset password again. And yes, no errors, no worries. All right. So after flashing this message, we can actually redirect our user to the login page again. So it is very simple. Return redirect with URL for function, and then the function name. So the function name is login. All right, so we can check for it, but it's okay. We know that it's gonna work. Anyways, our second step is to create that token, and we are going to use Itsdangerous Library for it. We are going to use timed Json Web Signature Serializer to create a serializer object and then save our information there. Let's see that in action. First of all, I'm going to open this Itsdangerous Library. So it's dangerous. And then the second link, this one is the pypy.org, and this one is the documentation. So this is it. Now by default, you might already have Itsdangerous because it comes with Flask. So let's check for it. Let's close our server. Pip show Itsdangerous. Wonderful. So we do have it. We have this version 1.1.0. If you don't have it, all you need to do is pip install and then Itsdangerous. That's it. And well, press enter. All right, so since I do have it, I can simply use it. So now let's just scroll down, and here we are going to use Json Web Signature. Let's click on it. And so this particular use case is when you don't need a timed Json Web Signature, which means you don't need your token to be expired, but we do actually. If you want your token to be expired in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, or 24 hours, you can do so. And that's why I have scrolled down to this place. It is going to expect a secret key like before. See, like before. The second argument is going to be expires_in, and then some keyword arguments if you need it, but basically you only need these two arguments. So how about I show you with a simple example. So let's open our Python shell here, and from Itsdangerous library, so Itsdangerous, import timed JSON and make sure the capitalization is correct. And actually a better way would be this. So just copy this and then just delete this one. Yes, now paste it. Wonderful. So import timed Json Web Signature Serializer. Now I don't want to type it or paste it every single time like this. So import it as Serializer. Wonderful. Press enter, and we have imported Serializer in this particular example. Now the first argument is a secret key. Now we can obviously add any secret key for this example, but I want to show you what we are actually going to do. We are going to import this secret key that we have created in here. So once more, very simple, we are going to just import this app variable in our routes.py. So in this example, let's import that as well. So from Code Jana _ Flask, import app. That's it. Now we can use this particular command here. So we can use app.config and then secret key, which will give us the value of this secret key. So let's create a variable serial and create a serializer object. So it is going to expect a secret key, and our secret key is going to come from app.config, and then in all caps in a string format type secret _ key, which will give us the value of this is first Flask app. All right, now after that, the second argument is expires in value. So you can type a keyword argument there. So expires _in is equal to, and then in seconds you can type 60 and then just put a parenthesis there. And now let's press enter. So I typed secret key instead of secret key. Wonderful. Anyways, let's press enter. So we have created this serializer object and saved it in a serial variable. So now we can actually save some information in that object. How do we do that? We use the dump method. So serial.dump and then s for string. So we can save a dictionary here. That dictionary is going to have, well, user _id, and this is not related to user. We are just creating it. We are creating this key to hold this value. Now in this example, I'm going to actually place 1, 2, 3, 4, anything I want. But when we are going to use it, we are going to actually pass this. So user.id, this is what we are going to pass. But since it is not going to work here, I'm going to pass 2 for this example. So that's it. So this is our token. So let's save it in token variable. All right, let's press enter, and now we have 60 seconds to actually cross check that information. All right, okay, so make sure the expires in time is somewhat practical. So 60 seconds is not practical. Make sure it is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or maybe 15 minutes, and make sure to tell the user that the token will expire in 30 minutes or 60 minutes based on your use case. So I hope it has not been 60 seconds since I kept on explaining that. So I'm going to verify this token. If it is expired, we are going to generate this new. Now this token is going to give us a token in byte form. Let's print this out. So token, and yes, this little b here means byte. So we want a string format there because we are going to be saving this information, then comparing this information. So it is very simple to do. Just press up arrow 2 times to bring that back. And now we are going to decode that byte information into string information, which is decode method utf-8. All right, that's it. So this time, if we print our token, yes, so no b there, and in just a string format we have this value. So that's what we need. Now since we have generated this token again, we have 60 seconds. So let's do that. So serial, we are accessing the serial variable, which is a serializer object. So serial dot and then load string. All right, so load s, and what to load? Load this token to verify it. So serial dot loads token. Wonderful. So the information that you saved in the token is being displayed. Now with the dictionary, you already know that you can access the value via key. So our key is user underscore ID. And now we should get 2 there. Wonderful. So now what good is this do for us? Well, you already know that we can do user.query.get and then pass this 2, 1, 3, anything there and grab that user by ID. After that, well, this is not going to work, but still pretend that it is going to work. Don't worry about that error. Let's say if it worked, you could actually do user.id, user.username, user.email and so on. So I hope the concept is clear to you. So I'm going to just exit out of it, and now we are going to use this technique to create a token. So where do we need to do this? Well, all of this information is actually related to the user. So in models.py, we have created this user model, and now we are going to create tokens in it as well, so that we can use user.get token and user.verify token. Well, they are not there, so let's create them. So first of all, we are going to create a function to get that token. So define get underscore token, and the first argument is self itself. Well, strange wording there, but this self represents the user class. After that, you already know that it requires an expires sec header. So last time I did a 60-second, so this time I'm going to give it a 5 minutes window. 5 minutes window is 300 seconds. So that's it. Now we're going to create the serializer object again. So serial is equal to serializer. Now make sure you have imported that at the top. So right after this Code Jana Flask, well, we are going to import that. So from Itsdangerous Library, import timed web JSON. So the first one right there as serializer. Wonderful. We're also going to import app, because so we have also used this secret key, right? So we need to import this app variable. So right just at the top from Code Jana underscore Flask, we have imported DB and login manager. We are also going to import app. Now we can use it. So let's just start creating it. So serial is equal to serializer. The first one is the secret key, right? So app.config and then secret key. All right, so make sure this time I don't type secret key. All right, so secret key. Wonderful. The second argument is of course the expires in header, which is already defined here. So expires in is equal to expires sec, which comes from this default value. All right, so wonderful, that's done, and we don't need anything else. We are just going to return the information from here. So the information will be in this format that we had created here. We had created this token, right? So when we run this function, this user.get token, it will return this value. So serial.dump s, and then the dictionary, so user underscore ID. And now we cannot give it a manual ID. We are going to dynamically grab the ID from user.id. So this user class and then this ID. Let's do that. So user.id. Wonderful. Now when you see this in action, it is going to be more clear. Also, it is going to give us a byte value. We don't need that. We need a string value. So again, we are going to use this decode method. So do a decode and then in UTF-8. Wonderful. So this is the information that is going to be returned when we call that function. All right, I hope it is clear. All right, so now we have created that token. We have saved this information in that token. Now we are going to write a new function to verify this token. All right, so define and then verify underscore token. This is going to take just the token as argument. If you wanted to not access all the properties of this user class, then you can create a static decorator here so that this becomes a static method. So let's do that at static method. Now I want you to pause this video and look around what static method does. Basically, if your function is not accessing the properties of a class, but it somehow relates to that class, because since we are getting this token, it only makes sense to create this function inside this class. See the indentation? We are creating this function inside user class. So if your function does not access the properties of any class, but it makes sense to actually create it in that class, then you can use this add static method. Also, if you don't want to create that, nobody is stopping you from doing this. So in case you want it to, look seamless, then you can actually create a simple function as well that can access the values of user class. But still, we are going to, focus on best practices. This verify token will not be using any properties of user class. It will only be using token that comes from here. We are going to create a token variable when we actually send that email. So when we work with the send mail function, we are going to be creating this token variable. So just have a little patience. All right. So add static and then method. Wonderful. So this is a static method. I hope I have explained it thoroughly. And in the similar fashion, you can actually scroll down here and don't worry about the errors. This serial.loads token. All right. In similar fashion, we are going to do a serial. And since we actually need to create the serializer object again, create that. So serializer this time. All right, so this time, as you can already guess, it needs a secret key, but it does not need expires in argument every single time, but it does need this. So how about we copy this? So just copy this one and give it a secret key. So now we have created serializer object once again, and please do remember that these are local variables. This serial is very different than this serial. All right, so this time do a serial dot, and how do we load the information? Via this. So serial dot load and then S for string. All right, so now we are going to load this token that is going to be passed from here. Wonderful. All right, and in the similar fashion, this token is going to give us a dictionary just like it did in this line. So when it gives us a dictionary, we are going to access its value via this key. So let's keep on making this. So user underscore ID. All right, now we are going to save this information in a user underscore ID variable. Now what if that user does not exist? See, when you verify this token for a user that does not exist, it is going to fail and your server is going to crash. So we don't want that. We want to catch that error. So we can actually do try. So try to find that user with that token. All right, and if you can't find it, you can actually just return a null value. This way we are not going to crash our server. So if it successfully tries and finds that user ID, we can actually return that user. So how do we return that? So user.query.get, and I have also shown you this, that this user query, all right, I already told you don't focus on this error. We are going to use this. So user.query.get and get via this user underscore ID. Wonderful. Now let's take a moment and let's understand what's actually going to happen. Can we run our server? Let's try it. So Python run.py. Wonderful. So server is running. Now we are not going to do anything that's actually going to crash our server. So let's click on login and click on forgot password. Wonderful. Now click on myth@gmail.com. Now when we click on reset password, we are not going to do it. Don't worry. When we click on reset password, what's going to happen is in routes.py, it is going to send an email. All right, so this function is soon going to have a token created. So that token will be created via get token. All right, so that token is going to have a user ID. Which user? The user that we got from here. So this get token function is going to be executed. All right, it is going to have this user ID saved in this user underscore ID key. All right, all of this information is going to be saved in a token that we are going to create in our send mail function. It is also going to pass a user, right? the user that we got from here, form.email.data and then first. All right, so when we do user.id, it is going to give us the exact ID of that user, be it 1, 2, 3 or 4. After we get that, an email will be sent, and when the user successfully clicks that email, then the token which will be in the URL is going to be extracted. After that, that token is going to be loaded, and if it has not been more than 300 seconds, the token will be valid. After that, that user ID which is saved inside the token will be released, all right, inside this user query. So let's say it is 2. So this query is going to be executed, and then we will get that user. So when everything is valid, everything is verified, then we can actually redirect that person to a different page, to an actual password reset page, where they can enter a password and then confirm that password, and then that password is going to be saved in the database. So we are very close to this. I'm actually itching to try this out. So let's reset this password. Wonderful. So reset request sent. So what's our next move? Our next move, and thankfully the final move, is to create this send mail function. After we have created it, we are only going to grab that token, create a different function to reset our password. Alright, so now let's configure our send mail function. So sending a mail starts with configuring a Flask mail server. Don't worry, it's not as intimidating as it sounds. Let's do that. So first of all, I'm going to close our server. So press Ctrl C. So let's check whether we have Flask mail with us or not. So pip show flask-mail. Alright. So package not found. All right, so let's do pip install flask-mail. Wonderful. Now we can use that. So in our init_py file, we are going to initiate this Flask mail. So from flask_mail import mail. All right, that's it. So now let's add some app configuration. Just after this login manager, we're going to add some app configuration. So app.config. Now I'm going to show you this because we are going to use our Google Mail. So Gmail SMTP settings. Wonderful. Let's click on this, and we are going to use these settings. All right, so let's do that. App.config, and first of all, we are going to just copy this. We are going to be needing, well, let's see, the username, password, server address, and then we can use either of these ports. If you're going to use SSL, use port 465. If you're going to use TLS, use 587. All right, so let's do that. We have 3, 4, and 5 fields. So Alt Shift and then down arrow, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 5 fields with us. The first one is going to be now. For this tutorial, I have actually changed my mail password so that I can show you, and after this tutorial, I'm going to change it back. All right, so the first setting is mail server, which is smtp.gmail.com. So you can just copy and paste it. Just copy here and paste it here. Wonderful. So the mail port number, what was it? We're going to use TLS, so mail port is 587. So mail use TLS, great. Since we are using that port, we are going to use mail use TLS. Also, let me just show you this. If you're going to use SSL, just use mail use SSL. All right, so let's delete it for now. True. Wonderful. Now the username. The username is itncart@gmail.com. The password is temp password Python *123. So the configurations are done. Now we can actually create an instance of this mail class that we have imported from Flask mail. All right, so let's just pass our app there as well. So now let's go to our routes.py, and in send mail, first of all, we're going to import mail. All right, so just like we have imported app, db, and bcrypt, we are also going to import this mail variable that we have initialized here. So again, go back to routes.py. After that, we are also going to import message from Flask mail. So from Flask_mail, import message. Now this message holds all the body and subject of your mail. So let's just go down here in the sendMail function. Wonderful. So the sendMail function is actually going to pass a user. So here, now remember that we have currently not passed any user, but if there is a user, we can pass this user here. So this user is going to be filtered by the email entered by the user on our password reset request form. So when we pass this user is going to come here, and then we are going to generate a token. I told you just a while ago that we are going to create a token variable. It is going to have a user. This is exactly what we're doing. So let's access this user and its methods. So user.get_token. Wonderful. It has already shown us to get token there, and let's just call that function. So this get token comes from this models.py, this. All right, I hope it is clear. Let's proceed ahead. We have got our token. So message is equal to access the message class that we have imported from Flask mail. Let's come down right here. So we are now going to create our subject and body. So create a message there. It's a password reset request. So that's the subject line. Let me just correct it. All right, so the subject is password reset request. The second is recipients. So the recipient, let's just type recipients. The recipient is the same user, all right? And we can type a single user here. For example, we can type user that comes from this user, all right? User.email. By this, we are actually accessing the email parameter of user class. Okay, so we can do this, or we can also give it a list. So this one particular message can actually be sent out to so many emails that you enter in this list. All right, so I'm actually going to give it a list here. Now after that, what argument is it going to expect? Let's say a sender. So sender is our own information. For now, I'm just going to try no reply at codejana.com. Wonderful. And finally, now we are going to create a body for it. Now we can either close it and then create a body in the next section, because it is going to take a long time. For example, I can actually type a whole message here, and to make it multi-line, I can actually do triple quotes. Wonderful. End it with triple quotes. So whatever body I define here is going to be sent out in the body form of an email. But this actually looks a little cumbersome. I'm just going to delete this and create a message.body, which is actually going to access the body parameter or body argument of this message variable. So let's do that. So message.body is equal to an f string, because we are actually going to pass the token with the URL. All right, so let's in triple quotes like we did just a while ago. So let's make some room there. Now, so this message can be anything. All right, you can just type to reset your password. Please follow the link below. And here we can display that link. We can also say, if you didn't send a password reset request, please ignore this message. That's it. We only want to send a little something to them if they did not do anything. All right, so now within this ... let's delete that, and now we are going to use a variable here, a URL for function, and where do we want to send them to? Now this particular URL for function is actually the creation of that URL. So let's do that, and in just a little while you will be ready to send that request. So let's create that. Create an app route, and then this reset password, because please do note that the URL is not going to be different. It is just going to have a token attached to it. The token is a variable, so we don't type token like this. We are going to have a less than sign here and a greater than sign here. This is the way to pass a variable in a URL of Flask. All right, so we have created this, and since this is also going to accept a form, methods is equal to a list of get and post, and make that a string. Wonderful. Now we are going to have that function which is currently pending for this URL for function. All right, so this is our reset token function. Great. So this reset token is going to accept this variable. Now when someone is actually being redirected to reset underscore password, and then this token generated via this. All right, please follow along. So this token will be stripped off. All right, this token will be taken away from it, and then we can actually use it to verify the details. So user is equal to then the user class, and then we can actually verify the token. So we are accessing this. We are accessing this static method verify token. So user dot verify underscore token, and now the same, you have seen it multiple times now. We are going to pass this token as an argument there. So when we do that, this is going to trigger a serializer object. All right, then this token is going to load it here, and if it is under 300 seconds or 5 minutes, then it will verify that token and spit out this user ID. So everything checks out for now. So if there is no user, so if user is none, which is again I'm going to show you once more, and actually I'm going to just split it to the right because we are going to be changing things a lot. So if user is none, and see, if it cannot find that user, return none. So it is a value that we have told it to return. So if the user is none, we can actually flash the message that is invalid token or expired. Please try again. Wonderful. And this time we can actually give them a different warning. So, well, that's a bootstrap CSS warning. All right. And after displaying that message, we can actually redirect them back to this reset request page so that they can try again. So return redirect URL for, and then the function name. So the function name is reset underscore request. Wonderful. So everything checks out for now. If this condition does not match, what we need to do? Well, since everything is fine, now the user can actually see the page where they can generate a new password. So, all right, so we are going to create another page. So let's do that. So on this page, this is going to be, let me just make it a small, change password.html. That's it. So this is going to be exactly same as this login. So I'm going to just copy all of it and change password, paste it. Now, just like on our reset request template, this one, we did not need the password field. On our change password, we don't actually need the email field. All right. So from this div, this opening div, let's delete up to here. Let's delete that, and now we have form.password.label. So we have this password field. We also need the confirm password field. So we can simply just copy this div, press Alt, Shift, and down arrow. Wonderful. And just select it once, press Alt, select the second one, double click it, third, fourth, fifth. Wonderful. And now we can actually change it to confirm underscore password. That's it. That's all we need to do. Now, have we created this form? No. Well, we need to create that form. So just at the bottom, we also don't need to do this. We can just delete this one here. Wonderful. So now we are going to create this form that we have already used on this template. So in forms.py, this is going to be really similar. Actually, I'm going to copy this login form. So just copy it and paste it here. Change it to reset password form. All right. We don't need an email there. Wonderful. And this password is fine. And we can actually copy paste this confirm password from registration form. So we already have all the fields with us. Let's just fix this indentation, and wonderful. See, it already has this password field label and everything, and we have used confirm underscore password in our change password form. So here, so form.password, nice, and form.confirm underscore password. So both of these fields match. And now that we have created this particular form, and this login is not exactly correct, so reset password, let's say change password, we can actually say submit as well, whatever you want. Anyways, so now we can actually import this form on our routes.py. So let's do that. So that's reset and then password form. Wonderful. So if everything checks out, if there is a user, we can render this form. So form is equal to reset password form. Wonderful. We have instantiated that. And now if that form is validated on submit, so there we go. If all the fields are filled out properly, here's what we do. We're going to hash this password again, and then we are going to save this password once again. So let's do that. Now we are not adding any new information. We are just changing old information with the new information. So this is already in the database, and this is the new information. All right. So we don't need to do db.session.add. We just need to commit this change. All right. I hope that's clear. And after committing this change, we can actually flash the message that it has been changed successfully. So let's say password changed. All right, please log in, and that's it. And since this change was successful, I'm just going to type success in this CSS category. Now we can just return them to the login page, because now that they have changed their password, they can log in. All right, so return and then redirect URL for function and login. Wonderful. Finally, we can actually render this template. So render template, and then name of the file. So the file was change underscore password .html. The title, let's say change password, simple and sweet. And now we have also created a legend variable. So the legend should say same thing, change password. All right. And finally, we have used so many form variables here. We have generated this form with this variable, so we're going to pass this as well. Let me just highlight this. So this form variable will go inside this. So form is equal to form. Wonderful. Now let's try to run our code. Sorry about that. Let's try to run the file. All right, so okay, so our ... have created some of an error. We can either pass it or we can finish it, and I would like to finish it because it's taking a long time. Okay, so this URL for function is going to have this reset token here. So this reset token function, it is going to render the URL up to here with this token variable as well. So we need to pass this token. All right, so this token will be equal to this token variable, which is being generated from this model.py get underscore token. All right, I hope everything is clear till now. So our URL for function is ready. So now let's just click on this. Let's try to run it again. Wonderful. So now it is working. Let's click on login, forgot password, and this time myth@gmail.com, reset password. Okay, and please do remember that it needs to be in string form. All right, so don't forget that. And now let's run our code. Let's log in, forgot password, and then myth@gmail.com, reset password. Now let's wait. Okay, so we are getting this bad credentials error. Don't worry, it is not related to our Flask application. It is actually a security feature of Google. So we're going to enable less secure apps of Gmail. It is not recommended. If you do try this out, please disable this again after you are done trying out, and please do this on a new email address that is not your personal email. All right, so enable less secure apps. All right, so this first one, and let's sign in via that particular email. So that's itncart, the same password that we have entered there. So that's temp password python *123, and since it redirected me back here, I'm going to access that page once again. So enable less secure apps here, this. So this is the function that we want to enable. Do remember to disable it after you are done testing. So let's allow less secure app. All right, let's close this, and now let's just refresh this page, and all right, so the server is running. Let's refresh it and continue. Wonderful. So reset request sent, check your email, and let's see if that worked. So I'm going to open my Gmail, and wonderful, we have a password reset request. So address not found, don't worry about that. See, if you're working with an email address that you don't have and you send that email, it is going to, do this mailer demand thing and send it back to you. So you can still test it out. Don't worry about this. So just click on this first one, the email that we sent. So look here, we had created that send mail function. So I'm just going to open it and routes.py. All right, so here, so this is the subject, and yes, it was correct. And this is the subject body that we had created. To reset your password, please follow the link. After that, we had this URL for function. In that, we had this reset token. So it is complete up till now. So that's localhost. After that, reset password. And after that, this is the token value. All right. So now it's still under 5 minutes. I'm going to click on it, and now we are successfully redirected to this reset password page, and unfortunately it still says login. So I'm just going to quickly go to change password and then change this to, well, we are now using legend variable, legend. So let's do that, and it should display it correctly, but we are not going to change it. So let's change it to a new password. So the first one was 123456. Let's make it password. All right. I hope it was correct. So let's change password, and yes, so successfully changed. All right. Now let's try to log in. We are also successfully redirected to this login page. So email was myth@gmail.com. Password is password. And now let's log in. And as you can see, a successful login to myth@gmail.com has redirected us to account page. So that's it for this video, and we are now going to make this account page a little bit better in next video. So finally, all of that is done. We have created forms, we have created password, encrypted that password, and we have also seen how to work with Flask Mail. So in my next video, it is going to be the final one for learning how all of this works, because we are going to be bringing everything together in the next video. After that, we are going to deploy this application on Heroku, then Amazon AWS, and then Google Cloud. So if you have not subscribed to Code Jana, please do so, because after working with Flask application, we are going to work with Django application. All right. So make sure you subscribe. Take care. Happy coding.